Royal biographer Hugh Vickers is still with us. We're remembering the Queen a year on from her death. And of course, my goodness, she loved her dogs and animals. But looking forward, Hugo, Prince Charles, I did it. Everybody does it. It's King Charles, of course, it's King Charles. The reign of King Charles. How do you feel this first year has been, and what do you think, how do you think it's going to evolve?
Well, I think it's he's done very well. And people talk about, you know, well, would there be sort of dramatic changes? There haven't been very many dramatic changes, but I think it's right that the monarchy is never quite in step. Sometimes it's a step ahead and sometimes it's a step behind. In my view, it's usually better if it's a step behind and then it evolves gradually. And if you look back to the Queen's reign, I mean, the sort of things she did in 1952 was so different from what she was doing later. And it just sort of gradually came along like that, almost imperceptibly. And that's the way to do it. He's had a big year. He's had his coronation, let's face it. So I think if you're looking for any changes, it's more likely to happen as from now.
He's making a few cutbacks there, isn't he?
Oh, yes. Well, cutbacks, certainly. And I mean, I'm sure he's had plenty of time to think about what he wants to do. Apparently, he's got all the gardeners running around and he's redone the garden at Sandringham. And in a sense, I suppose, you know, you have to accept he's an old man in a hurry. You know, he's 75 this year. He's not going to have the same length of reign as the Queen, inevitably.
I wanted to ask you about the personal side of the family, because obviously Prince Harry is arriving in the UK today, and we all find it quite odd that he's not seeing any of his family while he's here. Do you think that's a bit strange?
No, I think that's up to him, really. But what I think the King has been really good about is that he hasn't responded to any of the jibes which have been thrown at him at all by the Netflix series or indeed the book Spare. And the way I interpret that is that he's leaving the door wide open for Prince Harry to come back as and when he needs to, which I'm afraid I think will happen one day.
Do you think it makes him sad?
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm sure. Of course it does. He actually, even in the wretched Spare book, Prince Harry said, you know, that he quoted his father saying to the two boys, "Don't make my last years miserable." I mean, who wants to have a situation like that? But
I mean,
Sorry, I just wanted to interject on one thing. Sorry, Sinatra. When you just said, which I'm afraid will happen one day, why did you say that?
Because it's inevitable, isn't it?
But why?
Well,
why
speaking
are you
freely, I
afraid
mean, I know nobody's watching us, so I can say exactly what I know. I think that basically, I know, what she wanted was global recognition, and she's got that. And at a certain point, she'll be able to dispense with him. That's what I'm afraid I think will happen.
OK, interesting.
Yes.
Controversial. But I was going to ask you, as a biographer, you've grown up with the family almost, because you follow them so closely, and they must therefore see you in their lives a lot more than others, so they do recognise you. I know the Queen recognised you in Malta, didn't she?
That was so sweet. She was very generous, the Queen. And one time the Foreign Minister was, and we did these things with Commonwealth Walkways, and she was going to unveil a disc, and the Foreign Minister tried to introduce me, and she just said, "Oh, he pops up all over the place." So like her.
You're an icon, Hugo. You're an icon.
No, very generous of her. Yes.
Well, Hugo, thank you very much for joining us today. And I know, you know, people will want to pay their own kind of respects, and we will see so many tributes, but it's been absolutely lovely to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me along.
Hugo, thank you.